Hi, guys. Welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. I'm here, of course, with Eli Weintraub, my trusty co host. And it is March 1st. Eli, hard to believe. It's
I
on.
know. It was great. It was just February. We just started February. Now it's March already. The time
Yep.
has flown by, and we're already near Easter, and near
Yeah.
summer. It's crazy to think about.
So the bad thing about living in the Northeast is the winters. But the good thing is that spring is coming
Well,
right
that's the
around
bad
the
thing
corner.
about the Northeast, though, because when look at this week we had. We had a beautiful week this week. We were in the upper 60s at one point, and now we're going back to the low 20s tomorrow.
Yep.
Then it's going to be hot again in the 60s. It's going to go back down. This
Yep.
this is the weather I don't like, where it goes up and down like a roller coaster. Stay at
Right.
one thing. And hopefully, when baseball season starts at the end of March, start of April, we don't have any cold weather. It's warm when we are
Yep.
outdoors doing these games because I don't like the cold when I'm outdoors for a long period of time.
Hey, I've been to opening day at Yankee Stadium when it snowed. So
I'm sure you
I
did.
do know. I have. Anyway, so welcome back, guys. We had a great week, and Eli and I have a lot of stuff to talk about. And of course, we always start our show with the monologue, which is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York. And Eli, my monologue this week, and again, people are going to be a little surprised because it's about the NBA. And we talked last week about LeBron James, and we did nothing but compliment him on his athleticism. But contrary, this is part of the downfall, I think, of the NBA is the amount of money all these guys are making, and in particular, Joel Embiid for the 76ers. So, first of all, the guy's a dirty player. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but he's a dirty player, and they've known about this. He's got a history of injuries, and now he's dealing with a knee injury, which sometimes people can't come back from.
Right.
But realize this, that means the Philadelphia 76ers are going to pay this guy over $50 million a year for the next 4 years, whether or not he ever returns to a basketball court. And that's, when you look at something like that, you say, who's the general manager there? Is it Daryl Morey? I don't know who it is anymore, but um, yeah, that's a big nut to take. And if you're a Philadelphia 76ers fan, it's going to hamper, they had a foundation for a pretty good team with Tyrese Maxey and
Right.
so forth and Kelly Oubre. But, obviously Embiid was a big piece of that, former MVP. Actually, I don't think he should have won the MVP that year, but he did.
Well,
He did average 34 points. So he's definitely a quality basketball player, but he is injured, and it remains to be seen whether he's going to come back from a knee injury. And we're going to find out about that soon enough. But he's out for the season, and so that
and that's
takes
not
them.
good.
Yep,
It's a big loss there
it
for
is.
on the 76ers side. And I think one other note in the NBA, just so we can get it over with now, uh, Spurs Hall of Fame coach Greg Popovich is not expected to return next season. That was big
Yes.
news. And of course, this is mid-season. Right now, the San Antonio Spurs have a 24-33 record, only third worst so far in the Western Conference. I think that is the
Yeah.
seventh worst in the league. Yeah, there's a couple more teams in the East that are
Yeah,
not
but
doing
but
good.
but they're trending in the right direction because they got Wembenyama and they
Right.
got a good foundation. But I did see that about Popovich. So we were always speculating about what was the problem, why he did step aside. And when you have a stroke, obviously that's renders
Plays a
him
big factor.
incapable. Yeah, so that's a big loss. I mean, he's the all-time winningest head coach in NBA history, and that's a big loss. But like I said, you got Wembenyama, and you got a good foundation. They're going to be a team to be reckoned with down the road. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we'll stick with the NBA for just another minute or so, right? Because we're
Yep.
talking about the cream of the crop right now. And in the East, it's obviously the Celtics and the Cavs. And a lot of people think the Knicks are a quality team to make a run, but they've proven that they can't beat those kind of quality teams. So that's a big piece that they're going to have to get through if they're going to get back to the semifinals or even the conference finals. And on
Absolutely.
the other side, you have the Oklahoma City team, which is good. And now all of a sudden, the Lakers, maybe this Doncic thing is going to help them. I still don't think they're good enough to get and win an NBA championship, but that remains to be seen in the league of $50 million players. So,
Well, we know our rant about it with the players. That is too much money to just be benched every single game to take a quote unquote day off injury break, even though we all know it ain't no day off injury break. I mean, these college
right.
guys, high school guys, they're playing day after day and working just as hard as these guys in the NBA and still have respect for the game. Then they have talent and aren't paid as much or paid at all to play
Yeah.
the sport they love. That's
Well,
pride.
but that's why college basketball, and we'll talk about that in a little bit because that is starting to heat up. It's very exciting. You got good teams like
Yes.
Auburn, and probably the player of the year could be Cooper Flagg, but it could be this guy Johnny Broom for Auburn. They
Right.
seem to have a team that looks really tough to beat. But as you know, Eli, being number one in college basketball is almost a temporary thing, if you will, right?
Absolutely. There is
Right.
no
So
there is
the
no
quality
longer.
in college basketball when you look at the Florida Gators and so forth. And on the East Coast, got to be happy if you're a St. John's fan, the job that Rick Pitino has done.
He's done a
But I
phenomenal job.
also look at that and I say, okay, they're the number 7 team in the country.
Right.
Can they compete with a team like Auburn? Can they beat teams like Florida? Can they beat the
No.
Michigan States? And that's going to be the big test for
Right.
Rick Pitino,
I
who
think
actually
the
said
answer
something.
is
Yeah,
potentially no. I think he'll possibly get past a couple of rounds, maybe the first and second round. I don't think it can go any farther than that. I don't see this team going this far. They'll definitely win the Big East, in my opinion, because obviously the tournament is coming up for the Big East, which I'm disappointed about because all their games, the first couple rounds, are going to be exclusive on Peacock. So you can even watch that on cable television. So you won't be seeing me watch that. You have to see highlights on Twitter, I guess, or X, as you
right,
call it. So
right.
that is disappointing there. And March Madness is here. We are less than 15 days away from the first game kicking off for March Madness.
Yeah, and here's an interesting fact that I saw. So you know how they always do the preseason polls and so forth, right? And all the usual suspects are always there, right? Kansas, Baylor, North Carolina. Guess what? None of those teams are currently in the top 25. So that tells you the competition level on NCAA
Absolutely.
basketball, right?
And we do have a comment from Juan. He says, great sports talk show. Enjoy the sunshine and have a great weekend. Thanks for
All
tuning in.
right. Thanks, Juan. Appreciate the support you give us. And like I said, we try to give a complete overview of the sports field and doesn't have to just be baseball, basketball, football. We cover
Yeah.
it all. But thanks for your support. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
So we got that.
We have some big games today and for the weekend. I'm going to get to that real quick before we move
Yep.
off of college basketball. 12 o'clock on ESPN, Miami UNC. 1 o'clock ABC, a fantastic game to watch. Auburn, Kentucky. That's the big one for today. 2 o'clock ESPN, TTC versus Kansas. 2:15 CBS has Seton Hall St. John's, of course, to see if St. John's continues to run. They'll have the big test with Seton Hall at MSG today. 4 o'clock ESPN, Alabama, Tennessee, and 9 o'clock on ESPN, Arizona, Iowa. For the women's side of things on tomorrow's big games, 12 o'clock on ESPN, Louisville and Notre Dame. 2 o'clock on FS1, Marquette, UConn. 2 o'clock ESPN, Kentucky, South Carolina. 4 o'clock on ESPN2, Kansas State versus Iowa. And at 4:30 on Fox, Ohio State, Maryland. Those are your big games over on the women's side. A lot of great games to watch this weekend in the college basketball world. And one note I want to bring up is we are not seeing the same success of the past 2 years with UConn. So this is some exciting news if you're a UConn hater or don't want to see them have like a Kansas City Chiefs Mahomes style run and go far. Yeah. So if you are not a UConn fan, you must be happy in that regard.
Yeah, and the Big East is a very weird conference right now because on any given day, actually, you saw, you know, teams in the Big East, Marquette and Seton Hall and Creighton. Sometimes they keep it close, and they've been able to beat like the UConns and so forth. So that's wide open there. And on the women's side, you brought it up first, and that Notre Dame, which was the number 1 team in the country, got knocked off this past week.
Right.
And one of the biggest surprise games of this week was Rutgers on the road at Michigan, and they had it. They had the game, and Michigan wins at the buzzer. It was a great game.
Great
Great
game, though.
game.
It was
Yep.
fantastic. And Rutgers, another team that really surprised me. I mean, Dylan Harper from Don Bosco, he went there, and what a career and what a run he's having so far. Has hit a couple of buzzers and been playing a big impact in this Rutgers season. Very good note there, and good pickup from the Rutgers side of things.
Yeah, and
Definitely a big prospect to watch in the NBA as well.
You bet. And we keep an eye and we talk about Rutgers and whether they belong in the Big Ten or they getting these marquee players. Well, Dylan Harper is certainly one of the top recruits in the country, and he decided to stay home in New Jersey and play for Rutgers. So that's a good foundation. But I wanted to bring one other point up because it was an interesting comment that Rick Pitino made. And you and I have talked extensively on it, and our audience has commented on it, the nil, right? Nil money and so forth. And Rick Pitino actually came right out and said, he goes, I'm not going to be recruiting high school basketball players. I'm just going to go to the portal and get these guys. So that's a big statement to make. Of course, there were exceptions in high school, like the Cooper flags and so forth.
Absolutely.
I think what this is going to do, it's going to prevent some guys, some kids, like if this was 20 years ago, getting D1 scholarships, and they may not have to go to D2 and so forth. So it's all about the money, as we said, Eli.
It's all about the money. That's why it's a song, a popular song.
About the Benjamins, as they say.
It's all about the Benjamin there. But
okay,
that's what I got for college basketball.
Good. Well, let's couple of quick notes on the NFL. Obviously, it's the off season now, and we got the draft coming up next month, toward the end of next month.
Yes.
So you and I were talking just before the show about the quarterback situation, not only here but also with the Giants. I mean, and the Jets and Stafford. They came out and said, go seek a trade somewhere else. So I don't know if that was just a ploy or whatever. Obviously it is, because he's staying put, because it looked like there was a possibility that we could see him come to the New York Giants potentially.
Right. If not the Raiders.
Right. And he
was a big prospect for that area.
Right. And you and I talked about the other quote unquote free agents out there. So I think obviously the Giants have to do something, get a stopgap experienced quarterback, but they still need to draft a quarterback for the future. And you and I were talking about this before. There was a lot of speculation that it could be Aaron Rodgers coming to the Giants. And I'm here on this show right now saying that won't happen. That will set this franchise back, because it'll deter from all of their, future hopes. Aaron Rodgers is not the quarterback he once was. Could they settle for a Derek Carr potentially, or a Kirk Cousins? Maybe. I still think Rodgers is going to end up in Las Vegas with the Raiders.
Nah, I don't think Pete Carroll wants him.
We'll see.
Well, this is what I think. I think he's going to be a New York Giant. There is so much. He wants to stay, I think, in New York. That's what I feel. I think he's just going to take that little golf cart ride and switch locker rooms to the Giants side. That's what I believe, personally. Okay. I think that right now the Giants have this weird management and organization where I don't think that they'll pick up the right guy, rather, in the draft, or maybe make a trade for it. So I won't be surprised that Aaron Rodgers and the management somehow work a deal to keep him with New York, but at the Giants side. Do I think the Raiders get him? No, I don't think so, because I don't think Pete Carroll wants Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he enjoys what he's been doing in the past and the other teams like the Jets and the Packers, and I don't think he's meant to be in Raider, and I don't think that Pete Carroll is at that standard. I think it's better off Pete Carroll gets somebody else in the draft and build that guy up, or potentially build somebody up that has potential still. That may have not worked out this year, but could still have potential.
Yeah,
such as Kirk Cousins and things.
You certainly know Pete Carroll's leadership and his decision making. Being a Seahawk fan yourself,
absolutely.
And yeah, you make a good point. But what is the upside of signing Aaron Rodgers from a Giants perspective? There is no upside. It's not going to do anything. At least there's a potential. Kirk Cousins is younger. Maybe he doesn't have it anymore, but that's a better alternative than Aaron Rodgers. Derek Carr, still younger, still has some skills. If you're gonna go that route, it's got to be anybody but Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I think with the New York Giants, there's one goal that they have right now. They need to please their fans and make them want to continue to be a Giants fan. I think that is the main goal right now. Because if you looked at the season last year, they gave up Saquon Barkley. You saw Hard Knocks. You saw that the potential that they could have got Jaden Daniels. They had so much trust in Daniel Jones, and it never happened. So I think with the Giants, their main goal right now is to make sure that they have trust in their fans and to provide them some type of a winning season. Does that mean making dumb decisions that we all probably disagree with? Yeah. Is it going to make them happy and smile and jump up and down? Probably. But that's what I think the Giants are looking at. And I think the one goal they have is they need to have a winning season or somewhat of a winning season, not like what they had this year, and continue to do this year after year after year because there is no success. There is
Yep.
no fun in watching this team play every week.
Well, we're gonna find out about that, but I'm gonna stay true to my initial thought that this is not going to happen. I don't
We'll
see
see
an
what
up,
happens.
I don't
Maybe
see
we'll
an
be coming
upset.
back on this platform saying Eli was right, or maybe Jim was right. We'll find out. Uh,
Okay.
but other news in the NFL, Travis Kelce has announced that he will be returning to the Chiefs next year. He is not retiring just yet. He does
Mhm.
not want to end off on the wrong note, and I don't blame him. I think if he would have won the Super Bowl, there was potentially talks that he would potentially retire. That's what I would have believed. But
Yep.
because he lost, I think he wants the revenge. And we all know the NFL wants him to stay because of the Taylor Swift. They were saying how they're making extra like $1 billion something
Yeah.
just off of her fans watching the game just to see her at the game. Of course.
Yep.
Um, Other news out there: the Chiefs have franchise tagged Trey Smith, which was announced this week.
Yep.
The Seahawks offensive tackle Jason Peters retired from the NFL. He played with the Eagles along with the Bears. He went to the University of Arkansas and has now retired from the NFL.
Mm.
The other two news, the major news, next year's NFL salary cap per club, $279.2 million.
Yeah.
Is next year's salary cap. That is insane.
Yeah.
And the final note, which it's bringing a lot of debate to it, the NFL plans to use its electronic first down markers next season, but it will still have the chain crews on the sideline as backup. What do we
Yeah.
think about that?
You kind of need the chains anyway, so a guy can see where the first down is, so he can try to get to that mark. But yeah, the controversy around this is obviously was the Super Bowl or the Bills game, the
Right.
championship game, the AFC, right?
Right. I just think you still need a chain crew out there. I think because personally, like fans watching, there is no yellow line, there is no blue line there to watch. Because when you're at home, you always see on the television the yellow line, which marks the first down, and the blue line where the ball is marked. When you're
Yep.
at the game, there is no such thing as yellow line or blue line unless you look at the Jumbotron. So I think when I look at the chain crew, that's who I'm looking at the entire game when I'm at least at a football game because I want to know where the first down is. I want to know where to go. And I think even the players do. They want to see that. They don't want to just keep looking up on the Jumbotron. Remember, each stadium has a different Jumbotron. You look at Dallas, they're right above you. When you
Yeah.
look at MetLife, they're on the corners, on the sides.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Right.
So I think, yeah, they still need to keep those chain crew around. Great technology is becoming a big factor, but for how long will it work or will it not work? That's the big question.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that. And there's also one other quick thing I wanted to bring up. Actually, two things, but we're talking about the draft and Abdul Carter potentially being the number one pick in the draft. However, he's dealing with some sort of a issue, like a stress fracture, and we've seen that is almost impossible to recover from. We don't know the extent of it, but this could be
Absolutely.
right. Remember when Chase Young was coming out? He was the consensus number one top three pick, and he never recovered from those injuries that he had. And, so this is going to be a risky pick for whoever gets that first pick. We still don't know. It'd be a lot of wheeling and dealing, but just keep an eye on that. The guy, if he's 100% healthy, yes, he's going to be a Micah Parsons impact type player. But he's got an injury. You got to be a little aware of that. That's all, right?
Absolutely.
And one other quick thing I wanted to bring up because one of our loyal listeners, JR, who I know is through his comments and things, which we appreciate, of course.
Absolutely. And for anybody who's watching, feel free to comment.
Fan. So we were talking, and he posted a comment last week about Fred Taylor and whether Fred Taylor was a Hall of Famer. So it intrigued me, and you and I talked about the show. I'm very particular about my Hall of Fame guys, and we're going to mention the Hall of Fame later on in the show for a very particular reason. So I looked up the stats for Fred Taylor, and yes, he had a very good career. He had 7 1,000-yard seasons. He averaged 4.6 yards per carry, 11,000 career yards. So I tried to align him with one of his contemporaries. And if you put Fred Taylor in the Hall of Fame, then you have to put Tiki Barber in the Hall of Fame because they have very, very similar stats. And Taylor has a little bit more rushing yards, probably almost 900 more, but Tiki Barber has a higher per yard per carry. So, I don't know. And I always try to put it into perspective. Is Tiki Barber, is Fred Taylor, are they Barry Sanders? Are they Walter Payton? Are they Emmitt Smith? And then somebody can come back and say, yeah, well, what about Terrell Davis? And that's a very interesting take because he got into the Hall of Fame with only 4 1,000-yard seasons. No question that before he got hurt, he had a 2,000-yard rushing season. But you can't assume that he was going to be that dominant of a running back for the next 5 years of his career because after that injury, he never recovered. So I don't think he belongs in the Hall of Fame based on his short tenure in the NFL. But, now when you look at it, if they put Terrell Davis in, then maybe someday Fred Taylor and Tiki Barber get in the Hall of Fame. We'll see.
Fair points.
Right. All right, Eli,
let's go to the NHL.
Talk. Yep. Go ahead. Bring us on.
Well, I think we got to start with what we need to start with. Let's get it over with now. Ovechkin is now 12 goals away from the record. Now the hype and the question is, can he do it in less games than Gretzky? That's also on the line as well. I believe Arda posted some stats on his Twitter page. I don't have it exactly on me right now, but they were saying that that's now a factor as well. How many games?
Is that even a possibility that he could do this in less games than Gretzky?
I think Arda posted something on Twitter that it was possible. I'm going to try to bring up the tweet now from the other day. He posted on Twitter. I'm going to bring that up because I know he said that the other day. It's possible.
Well, the only reason it's possible is because Gretzky hung on for probably 4 more years, after the peak of his career. Because if you look at the first 10, 12 years of his career, he was scoring 70, 80, and 1 year 92 goals. I mean, so that I would be surprised by. But that's Arda Ocal producing that. But I'm saying these guys that hang on for the last 4 or 5 years of the career, it kind of skews the stats a little bit. That's all.
Yes, and I'm still trying to look for it. I believe it's almost. I cannot find it. I believe I saw a set that there was a possibility about that.
All right. Anyway, and also just before while we do that, I just want, hopefully JR will send a comment. Hope he's watching the show and gives us his feedback on my take about his Fred Taylor thing. But anyway, that's another story.
All right. Other news happening tonight is the Navy Federal Credit Union NHL Stadium Series from The Ohio State University. An estimated 90,000 people are to attend. The game is tonight at 6 o'clock over on ESPN. It's the Blue Jackets and the Red Wings.
Are they playing in the Horseshoe?
Yes, they're playing at Ohio State, the Horseshoe. Wow. It is going to be historic. The ice looks incredible.
Yep, cool.
And the final note is the NHL announced that Gary Bettman will read the names of the first round draft picks following the NFL's move at the NHL draft. Last year, we know Roger Goodell started reading the names at the draft. So Gary Bettman will follow suit over on the NHL department.
Yeah, that was always a tradition in the NFL. Teams Roselle used to do that as well.
Yeah. Previously, the teams used to announce who they are going to be getting. This year's NHL draft will be live from Los Angeles at the LA Live's Peacock Theater on June 27th and 28th. Round 1 is Friday the 27th on ESPN at 7 o'clock. Rounds 2 to 7 will be Saturday on ESPN Plus and NHL Network.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
a
Eli.
lot of close matchups in the NHL. Great
Yep.
day of hockey ahead. We will see how the standings break apart. We'll know after this weekend a little bit furthermore.
Good. Good. Let's move on to let's get some warm weather sports here. So the baseball is in spring training, and I got a couple of notes that I wanted to bring up. And as far as that goes, so former Cy Young winning pitcher Sandy Alcantara for the Florida Marlins is coming back from, a major. He missed the whole season last year, and if this guy's healthy, he's already throwing 99 miles an hour. That's good for them. Good for baseball to have a stud pitcher like that healthy again. So he's coming back. A couple other notes. Jose Altuve, right? So he's still in Houston, but they're moving him away from second base and going to put him in right field or left field or somewhere. So, but I actually was looking this up. Over the past like 6 seasons, he has the worst fielding percentage of any second baseman in baseball. So I don't know what took him so long to move him to the outfield, but he's still a good hitter, big time hitter. We'll see. And this just came out, Eli. I didn't see this. Luis Heel for the Yankees has to go for an MRI, which
Yes.
shoulder tightness. And now immediately you think, here's a promising young kid, and he's a throws hard and so forth. And is it the shoulder? Is it the Tommy John potential? But that could be a big loss for the Yankees because he was a promising pitcher, and we'll see how that works out. And this was interesting, Eli. Albert Pujols is going to be the manager of the Dominican Republic baseball team in the World Baseball Classic. So I think this is a foundational test to see whether or not he has the managerial skills, because he's legendary in baseball, a surefire Hall of Famer, of course. Is his future a manager in the major league level? We're going to find out soon enough.
All right.
One other quick thing. I saw an interesting fact. I don't know if you remember Will Clark, but Will Clark was a great player, but played on a few different teams. Nicknamed Will the Thrill. Interesting thing. Will Clark hit a home run in his first at bat in Single A, his first at bat in Double A, first at bat in Triple A, and he also hit a home run in his first Major League Baseball at bat. That is some kind of stuff, isn't it?
What stats there? Wow.
Isn't that good? Yeah.
Impressive there.
You got it.
I don't got much notes on the MLB today.
It's early, but like I said, you're gonna. Yeah, there's still some free agents out there that take longer to sign, but we'll see about that.
Right. Martin comments. Good morning, gents. Morning, Martin.
Good morning, Martin. Martin is the pride of Philadelphia, and he's one of our newest loyal listeners. And I say loyal because I don't know, he's been on top of everything that we've been talking about, and I know he's going to bring it up.
Eric says good morning to all. Happy Saturday. Good morning, Eric. Right on cue.
Yeah, look, all our Philadelphia area fans are chiming in today, right?
Absolutely.
Good. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Marty. Appreciate that. All right, Eli.
Time for some random points.
We got some random points, of course, sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. Eli, go ahead. Give me your random points.
All right. Well, I got a lot to talk about. Let's start with this. UNC football and Bill Belichick will appear on Hard Knocks offseason, as no NFL team seemed interested in doing it. So now they gave it to a college football team and learn more about Bill Belichick.
Wow. Let's certainly listen. That signing certainly put North Carolina on the map.
Market. Yep.
College football.
Diana Taurasi has announced her retirement from basketball. She played with the Phoenix Mercury on the WNBA and Team USA basketball.
Yeah, she was a big UConn legend too. So she's won at all levels, right?
Yes,
she's won the Olympics. She's won the national championship at UConn. She's won a championship with the Phoenix Mercury. So yeah, that's a 20-year career. Hell of a basketball player, no doubt.
Absolutely. Noah Eagle will join NBC's coverage of NBA basketball on NBC and Peacock when it returns in September of 2025. September,
I'm
October.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's related to Iron Eagle.
You are correct, Jim. NBC and Macy's also announced they signed a new 10-year deal to keep the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on NBC.
Okay.
Lester Holt will be stepping down from his roles as the anchor and editing manager of NBC Nightly News this summer, but he will continue to do Dateline NBC and other things for the network. This is the second major person from NBC to announce a step down. As you know, Hoda Kotb announced her retirement from NBC just a few months ago. Nora O'Donnell of CBS Evening News, she stepped down from the desk also a few months ago. So it's a weird thing that's happening. We're seeing a lot of moves over on NBC and nightly news television.
Yeah, well, by the way, Nora O'Donnell, I saw on Finding Your Roots, she has relatives with the last name
Monahan. Absolutely.
So,
SC Plus, Sports Center Plus, will be coming to Disney Plus on March 3rd. It's going to be a daily news show, new Sports Center show with extra sports stuff added and extra content on Disney Plus. It'll be hosted by Gary and Randy. It's a 15-minute show that will be live at 9 a.m. weekdays on Disney Plus, not on ESPN Plus. So if you have ESPN Plus, it's not there. It'll only be on Disney Plus. The ESPYs will be on July 16th over on ABC. Optimum and MSG Networks reached a deal last week to return your favorite sports to the network. I'm sure, Jim, you're very happy about that. A deal was reached Saturday just before the Devils game started. So
I'm glad you brought that up because I wasn't aware of it until I was just flipping around and I said, oh, because I was steadfast in my beliefs that I am not going to pay extra money for Optimum to give me Madison Square Garden Network on my cable box. We pay enough for it, so I was going to have to live without my Rangers, and now
you didn't miss much. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
you didn't miss much.
Right.
Some sad news for longtime shoppers at the Joann Fabric store. Their company has filed bankruptcy and will be shutting down all stores.
Yeah, that's kind of the sign of the times, right?
Yeah. The final news is yesterday, the King de Ka attraction at Six Flags Great Adventure, the tallest roller coaster in the world. The tower officially came down last night as the attraction will be has officially closed and making way for a new, even taller, world's largest roller coaster coming to Six Flags Great Adventure. So some sad news for those roller coaster people, and for those who rode the ride too.
Yeah, I don't know what I would classify myself as a roller coaster guy, even though I've been on them. I feel safe on them, but I have a little thing about heights, admittedly. So I don't know.
Well, see, I'm a roller coaster guy, but I do not do things with what they call inversions, which is the upside down loops. I don't do those rides. You will not see me go upside down in loops. I'll do that. I will do roller coaster as long as they don't go upside down.
I'm sure that those little loop things, somebody below them has gotten thrown up on by somebody on the upside down.
Oh, absolutely. Andrew comments, good morning, guys. Random recommendations, Netflix Full Swing. I've heard of the show, and I heard that's been popular, so that's a great recommendation.
What is that? Is that a baseball or a golf show?
No, it's just a regular show, Full Swing. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
I'll Google you more details. Full Swing on Netflix. Full Swing, it's on Netflix. It is a golf show. You're right. Golf.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew, for that. Always looking for something to watch.
Yes, and Jim, it's all you. I'll talk about the Oscars in the entertainment segment, but first I'll let you get to some points.
Yeah, I just got a couple here. Interesting facts. A rarity. So Dale Whitnell on the DP World Tour, which is kind of the equivalent of the European Tour, the PGA, had not one but 2 holes in one in the same round. And the if you wanted to bet, which you can bet, and I don't bet.
I know. I understand. Yep.
Right. But a PGA Tour, you can always place a bet 3,000 to 1 that they'd get a hole in the one. The odds of getting 2 holes in one on the same round goes from 3,000 to 1 to 67 million to 1.
Whoa.
And this guy had 2 in one round. Amazing.
Wow. I want to know what place that bet.
Yeah, one other quick thing. So remember Plaxico Burress, and wide receiver, won a Super Bowl with the Giants, had a great career going until he decided to bring a gun to a nightclub and accidentally shoot himself in the leg. And he went to jail for that, and rightfully so. Can't carry a gun into a nightclub.
Yep.
had to sell his Super Bowl ring. So this is like when you're up there making this kind of money, you have
gotta
to
sell
stay
your
out of trouble. Otherwise, trouble will follow you to the end. And now
Jesus.
he's, so you got I think it was like almost a crazy number, like $250,000 for the ring or something. But anyway, another story of an athlete at the peak of his career throwing it all away
Yeah.
by lack of judgment.
Wow.
And Eli, this came up today, and I didn't hear anything about it until today. And we've talked extensively about Peter Edward Rose and that the fact that I'm uphold his ban from baseball. But the president of the United States indicated he will issue a full pardon for Pete Rose. Now, that doesn't mean that Major League Baseball has to allow him to the Hall of Fame. I hope they don't. But we're getting into politics and sports, and
Oh boy, we're never
yeah,
gonna end. It's
it's
never
right.
gonna end. Yeah.
I don't know. You bet on baseball, your own sport. You have uh, gangsters and loan sharks in your clubhouse. You have no say in anything in that sport, regardless if you're the all-time hits leader or not. So, a lot of notes there, Eli. We covered a lot.
And now it is time for the entertainment and photo segment that is sponsored by Vital Selections. You can scan the QR code to learn more.
Yes, please do. It's an outstanding product, by the way.
All right.
So
Go for it.
I got a couple of recommendations, and
Yep.
I know we talked about it, and we're going to get to why I'm recommending a couple of movies that I am because of the notable passings, and I don't think that's
of course,
be a mystery
absolutely.
to anybody. But I know I've already done Hoosiers, one of the great
Absolutely. Yep.
great movies of all time. The French Connection, and that was a great movie back in the early 70s. And also The Firm with Tom Cruise and also the actor we're going to talk about in a little bit. So those are my three recommendations right now. But the, the premier one, and it relates to sports, and we always like to try to tie it in. Hoosiers, if you haven't seen it, see it. And but also, before we move off random points, we had this incident where Eli revealed he never had a Pop-Tart. Well, that's going to end this week because Eli has
I
a nice
received a
supply of
shipment from
Pop-Tarts.
Jim, which I appreciate, Pop-Tarts. So I will be trying that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we will send you the Nutella next time because I know you have never had Nutella. So
no need.
Okay,
But
next time. All right. Well, here are my recommendations for the week. Tonight, all new Saturday Night Live with Shane Gillis and Tate McRae as the musical guest. Tomorrow is the Oscars at 7:00. 7:00, hosted by Conan O'Brien. So the recommendation this week is watch an Oscar-nominated or winning film this weekend. This year's Best Picture nominees, of course, which is the prestige award of the night: Anora, The Brutalist, Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked are nominated for the Best Picture. My prediction, it's got to be Wicked. I think they're going to win a ton of awards tomorrow night. That's what I predict.
All right.
And one other note I want to bring up, I want to thank everybody for my Best Host Award. I really appreciate it. It is a joke. I did buy the prop when I was in Hollywood last time. So thank you for the Best Host Award. Jim, we're going to get you one.
Well, I feel a little slighted. I didn't get one.
Well,
I feel a little slighted.
All right, well, I'll ship you one, but no, this is a long time. It's just a joke. It's the Oscar weekend. Got this little prop, so I want to say thank you for the Best Host Award. So
that's very good. So listen, you can have one statue also, and two name plaques on.
Yeah, we're gonna put a Jim Monahan next to it as well. It doesn't have my name on it; just says Best Host on it. But it's also Read Across America month for March. I'll do my so read a good book this March, or maybe read to another school or like a charity group, something like that. I know for St. Mary's, we're going to be reading to another school this week, reading Dr. Seuss books, The Places We'll Go by Dr. Seuss. We'll be reading that this week. I'll be taking part in that. So take your part and read Across America this March.
That's actually a good idea. Thank you.
All right. And now let's get to some photos. And I think we'll start off with the photo of the week.
And there it is. And I know I got criticized because I'm not facing the camera, but
Yes,
I
you were not
assure
facing the
you,
camera, but it's okay.
but we ended the show last week that I said, I hope we have a really good picture for the show. And I actually followed through on it. And that's the picture. That's Hall of Famer Joe Klecko, who I had an opportunity to meet. I've met him before, but he's absolutely a wonderful guy. And it was for a great cause. And so I wanted to make sure that I posted this. I know I posted it on Instagram and Facebook for us.
Yes.
As soon as I sent it to him. But
And I heard you ask the question. Could you reveal to us what the question was?
well, I did. I did ask a question and of Joe and probably 200 people in the audience. And I asked him if he was disappointed that it took him 20 years to get nominated for the Hall of Fame. And he said, no, I was never disappointed, that it was in God's hands the whole time, whatever. But yeah, that was a class answer. And but I did indicate to him, I just pointed at him and I said, you are a Hall of Famer. And the whole audience clapped and agreed with me. So
all right, love it there.
Great opportunity. Yeah. So this is, of course, my grandson Logan, who we put his 11th birthday picture up a couple of weeks ago. And look at those green sneakers. Those are the University of Oregon sneakers.
Well, I could tell I think he's going to go to college there, maybe.
Yeah, so that would be okay with me. But he has a playoff game this afternoon, which of course I will be in attendance for, and I wish him and his teammates see the jubilation of the last win to get to the next round of the playoffs. It's great to watch these kids. It's the youth of today, which is where the pros of tomorrow. And this is a picture, Eli, of an H-65 aircraft from the Coast Guard. And why am I putting this up is because one of our loyal listeners, Bruce Orkamp, his son Parker flies that thing. And I have always held true to my belief that the Coast Guard is one of the most underappreciated
100%.
branches of the military. And, the fact that somebody flies that and he's out there training in the Sierra Nevadas. So wanted to give a shout out to Parker Orkamp, and thanks to him and all the other Coast Guard members. As you know, we are big proponents of the military on our show.
Absolutely.
Great picture, though.
Yeah, and it's, believe it or not, that was not Alaska when I asked Jim. It was what location again, Jim?
The Sierra Nevada. So I guess that's what, Utah, maybe something like that. I don't know.
And the first thing I thought of was Alaska, and I'll be darned, I was wrong. But it's all right. Let us go now to some notable passings. Some sad ones, of course, a lot this week we have to report.
Yeah, there are. Let's start right off. Go ahead, Eli. You could start off because we had some of the similar ones.
Yes, Michelle Trachtenberg is what we'll start off with. She was known from Harriet the Spy and Gossip Girl. She was only 39 years old. She also appeared on the Celebrity Wheel of Fortune episode.
Yep.
She was born in 1985. Gene Hackman, he died at the age of 95, an incredible actor. He was born in 1930, and the cause of death is unknown at this time. He, along with his wife and dog, were found dead in their home. And carbon monoxide was not the cause of death, which was shocking to see.
Yeah, very sad for me because I've always admired Gene Hackman. He's got a resume like, we're talking about. I know Jim Walsh, our loyal listener, is watching the show and listens to the show, and he agrees with me. So that's why I brought up the French Connection, Hoosiers, and The Firm as my picks. Absolutely. Because he was a great actor.
Longtime MSG Networks announcer Al Trotwig has died at the age of 68. He was born in 1956.
And I'm gonna let me spend a second talking about Al Trotwig, because this guy was a professional at what he did, and he wasn't just about the Rangers and the Knicks and the Yankees. He did everything. He covered the New York City Marathon. He covered the Olympics, and I was surprised he was only 68 years old. But you know what? When we talk about it, we've had opportunities to meet guys that are in the media that are nice people. I actually met Al Trotwig at a Ranger game one time. Very courteous, very kind. What a great guy. Great resume. And that's a big loss, not only for New York sports, but for sports in general.
Yes. Clint Hill. The
Yeah.
Secret Service agent who jumped onto JFK's car after he was shot died at the age of 93. He was born in 1932. He shortly retired from his Secret Service duties after being heartbroken and just shocked about everything that happened following an assassination attempt and successful assassination attempt.
And I'm
fortunately.
glad you brought that up because I was going to bring it up because I've always admired Clint Hill. I've watched him through the years talk about, what a devastating day that was in American history, and it was, and he put his life on the line. And he was 93 years old. And if you look at the Zapruder film, that's the footage that they own, the only footage that they have. He put his life. He climbed on to make sure that Jackie Kennedy didn't fall out of that car. It was big loss, and true American.
Grammy-winning singer Roberta Flack has died at the age of 88. She was born in 1937.
Oh, and I got to tell you, I was talking to somebody. I was a big Roberta Flack fan. She had some wonderful hits. She was always a classy person and just had a wonderful voice. You would know the songs, Killing Me Softly.
Yes.
First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. Where Is the Love? She had a lot of big hits. She was a classy woman, and she was 88 years old.
Great songs, by the way.
Yep.
You have the rest, I believe.
I just got a couple. Larry Dolan, who was the owner of the Cleveland Guardians, was 94 years old, but he had a great backstory. He was went to Notre Dame, and then he was in the Marine Corps, and he subsequently became very successful in the business world. And not to be confused with James Dolan, whose father passed away. That was Charles Dolan.
Right.
This was Larry Dolan. He was 94, and he brought a little bit of excitement back to the Cleveland with his purchase of the Indians. And,
right.
And one other one from the world of television, Michael Priest. And now Michael Priest, big time director of great shows like Dallas, Walker, Texas Ranger, Hunter, stuff like that. And, full disclosure, I was always a big Dallas fan. I loved the whole J.R. Ewing thing. And we used to always watch at the end and see who directed it. And over 60 of those episodes was Michael Priest. He was 88 years old.
All
right. We covered a lot there.
We did. And what a great show. We thank for everybody who commented, who watched. We appreciate it. And we're in March. Let's make it a good one. And we are going to have more content, more fun next week. Right here at 10 o'clock on Sports with Mono and Mono.
And let's let it not go unnoticed that Eli's his little jersey that he has is a tribute to the 50th something of Disney.
Anniversary of Disney World. Yes. 50th of Disney World.
So,
yes.
I don't think it goes unnoticed. A lot of our loyal listeners said, "Boy, Eli, he's pretty into this Disney thing." And I said, "Yes, he is."
A big 5.
And I've always said that Walt Disney provides quality programming. The amusement park, they do it right. So they're a quality organization.
Some things aren't right at some points, but there are a lot that goes right, and it's because of them that we have all these sports on cable television, on ESPN, on ABC, because it's because of Disney who purchased it. I know people were going
to say, what was that jersey, the 50 that Eli had on? I wanted to make sure that they knew what that was. So Eli, again, right? We're getting into some good time of the year again after the little respite that we have after the football season ends.
Yes.
The baseball's coming, and like you said, NCAA basketball just
right around the corner.
More exciting. It's great. We got the NFL draft coming up, so there's always stuff to talk about, and we would love for people to send us comments. We get emails all the time.
We appreciate it deeply.
mono@gmail.com. And like I said, I hope JR was listening because I wanted to get back to him about his take on Fred Taylor and stuff like that. So we listen. We take every comment that you guys send us to heart, and we address it and acknowledge you on our show. And
absolutely.
That's what we do. So Eli,
going
to be a nice day today in the Northeast, but tomorrow don't put away your earmuffs because it's going to get cold.
Yeah, I know. Very disappointing. But all right, have a great week, everybody.
All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Bye-bye.